What the Tech is brought to you by TextExpander. TextExpander helps you communicate smarter. Visit TextExpander.com/podcast for 20% off your first year. Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm a very caffeinated Andrew Zarian here with you today. And I'm joined by Mr. Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good.
Dude, I am bouncing off the walls right now.
Yeah,
bouncing.
what's up?
I had a, not to complain, I feel like I have very rough starts every day to the day, but as people know, I have a side gig that became a full-time gig for me. One day I will tell the story of my day job on this show. I think if you listen to some of my other shows, they know. But Paul and everybody, there's a lot of funny stories. There is an occurrence that there was going to be a possible filming of, I believe it was Windows Weekly from my establishment one week.
That's right.
It almost happened.
No, it's more likely the next thing that films in your establishment is Magic Mike 3.
It's very possible. Listen, at this rate, I need that money, my friend.
Yeah.
So I'll tell the story on the air on a bonus show one week, but we're getting things going again here in New York. Inside dining is happening, which I know a lot of people are very excited about, and a lot of people in hospitality have been out of work, and it's great to see people are starting to make some money again. Little normalcy is great, but 7 months of not doing anything, you're kind of rusty. Everybody's a little rusty. So I've been running around like a chicken without a head for about 2 weeks now. And this is literally the first time I'm able to sit and think today about everything I need to do. So it's been a very hectic day, but I'm very glad I'm here with Paul, one of my very good friends. Paul, I was counting. I was doing this thing with Jess the other day, and now I'm telling you this is going to be like how much I love Paul. We were like, oh, wow. We were talking about our friends in our 20s. And like from our wedding, right? Like how many of our friends from our wedding, because we got married young. I was 24, she was 20, she had just turned 22. So we're like, how many of our friends do we talk to? And it's virtually nobody. And she's like, well, who are your good friends? I'm like, well, easy. I got Spencer, Paul, Josh, Mike. Those are pretty much like, like the closest guy. Suncast, another, like those are my closest guy friends. Bob Rowe in our chat room, one of my closest guy friends. Like it's become so weird. And Jess turns to me and she goes, you know what it is? She goes, you have a thing for older guys. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes,
we call it bagging the bear. No,
she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, all your closest guy friends are older than you. I'm like, because I'm smart. I want to be around people that are already established. They know what they're doing. They could guide me in life.
I mean, the first friends we made here in Pennsylvania are at least 10 years older than us. I mean, maybe more. It's kind of random, but I don't know. I think guys tend to have a small circle of friends.
It is true. Yeah, very true. Also, especially when you're in like this industry, you know what I mean? Like doing these podcasts and like all my friends are very much involved in media and stuff like that. And it's a common thing. And it's hard when you find someone you click with, and that's it. It was match made in heaven for us in the bar that day. That's what it was.
That's right. The pheromones were everywhere.
The pheromones were everywhere. By the way, I'm still trying to figure out. There was an Argentinian steakhouse next door to that place we were, and it's like it never existed because they shut down like 2 weeks after. And Jess and I have figured out that like something happened. We drank too much that night that we never went to that place. It never existed.
Yeah, right.
We're trying to still figure it out. Last week we didn't have a show, but a lot happened in technology and tech, obviously, which Paul and I are going to go through. I got my Google TV. I know Paul got his. I want to take some time and talk about this because for long time, What the Tech listeners, if I was a betting man, which I am, but I took a really bad gamble on Google TV. I honestly believe that was going to be the future.
Well, you mean Android TV?
No, Google TV.
What do you mean by Google TV?
That was the original thing when Google teamed up with Logitech. Do you remember that? Years ago. Okay, we'll talk about it. We'll go into it. But before we do, we're doing something really awesome here on the show. thanks to our great friends at Glasswire. Now, Glasswire, I'm sure last time I brought them up, a bunch of you said, oh my God, I love that company. I use it. I use the software at work. They are an unbelievable firewall software. What they do, they essentially tell you, who your computer's chatting with. It monitors your network. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful interface. We're going to talk more about them in a couple of weeks. Obviously, it detects spyware and malware and all that stuff. I'm not reading a copy here. I'm just telling you based on my usage of it because I've been using them for a while now. Really, it's a great piece of software. And talking to the guys over there, really great group of guys. They have a great offer for us. They contacted us and they said, hey, what do you think about giving away a Surface Duo? I'm like, I think that's a great idea, but I'm not going to buy a Surface. So he goes, don't worry about it. We're getting a Surface Duo. We're going to give it away to one of your audience members. Again, I did the audience member. It's. I know. This was recorded in front of a live
You'll be staying
audience.
In Carson City tonight at the...
Yeah, welcome to the Johnny Carson Show. We're going to give it away to one of our listeners. So all you guys have to do, head on over to our Twitter, WhatTheTechGFQ, twitter.com/WhatTheTechGFQ. You're going to see a post there. I'm going to pin it. You're going to see a post, and it's a giveaway. All you got to do, follow the guys over at Glasswire, retweet that post, and you're automatically in. And on October 20th, they're going to draw a winner. Now, this isn't one of those contests where it's open to, like 18 other shows. This is our giveaway. It's to one of our listeners, which I absolutely love. I think I've done this in the past with other companies where we've given away, and they've done it with like 4 or 5 different podcasts or 20 different podcasts. It's just for us, which I absolutely love. And what better of an audience? Paul's, if you go to Thurrott.com, the content that he's written for the last 30 some odd years. I think this is an unbelievable opportunity for one of our Thurrott.com readers, and of course one of our listeners here on What the Tech. And of course, listen, I want to extend this to that whole community. I think this is a great opportunity and it's a great device. Paul and I have spoken about the great stuff about it and the stuff that we don't get, but I think it's a really cool device that I see a lot of companies trending forward with this. So all you got to do, head on over to Twitter, twitter.com/WhatTheTechGFQ. You can see Paul retweeted it. I retweeted it. Go there, retweet that post. Follow Glasswire, and on October 20th, we're going to give it away. How awesome is that?
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. By the way, Don in our chat room, $2.99. See, and we made some money with this. We got $2.99. That's it. Perfect. Awesome, Don. Thank you. So, Paul, I want to start off with the Google TV announcement. So, years ago, I want to say 10 years ago, Google partnered with Logitech, and they released the Google TV.
I looked this up. I'm sorry.
You don't remember it?
I just forgot because it's been so long. Like I had one of these TVs too. I had the Sony one.
Yes, you did.
It was like Internet TV or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it had a pass-through. And that was my big thing, where the pass-through would make it easy, where you don't have to constantly switch inputs. Remember, that was like a big thing. People didn't want to switch inputs. They wouldn't use the device if they had to switch the inputs. Yep. Now it's such a common thing. It's part of your life. Nobody's sitting on their TV anymore. Everybody has, they're using.
Well, it's easier too. If you pick up a remote and press a button, like if you pick up the Roku, it will go to the channel the Roku's on. If you pick up a Apple TV remote and press a button, it will go to the HDMI you know what I mean? So it's a little easier. Like back in the day, you had to manually switch. It was terrible.
Yeah. So it was a dud. It wasn't great. I
barely remember it. The TV I had was pretty nice.
I'm trying to remember the interface. I loved it because I had cable at that time, and you had to, and nobody ever had the TV remote. All you had was a cable remote, and God knows if it worked. When you were switching.
I had mine mounted up in the corner of the room.
Did you?
Like in my office, like it was a hospital TV.
you know what? I mean? And I guarantee you, and it worked better than most people.
Yeah, it was fun. It had the remote was huge. It had a keyboard on it.
Oh, really? No. Yeah. Oh, no. Mine was a keyboard. That was the remote. Totally forgot. The remote was an actual keyboard from Logitech. Right. So,
this is
it's
like 12 years old, 10 years old.
Jeez. So, I was really for this platform. I was very gung-ho for it. I didn't buy a Roku. Sure. I used that for a long time. And then, obviously, it kind of sucked. for a lack of no decorum here from me today.
Yes.
It kind of sucked.
Yes.
And it really, everybody kind of blew past it. So when
Right.
Chromecast came out, I was shocked they didn't move forward with their own standalone interface. I hated the fact that you didn't have a remote. You had to use your phone. It worked fine. It was okay, but there were no apps. It was reliant on your phone, and I didn't want to do that. Now it's a whole different ballgame, right? Their new Chromecast has Google TV built in, and it's...
So, by the way, sorry to interrupt, but just so people understand, the Google TV system today is not the one from 10 years ago. It's completely different, right?
No, it's Android TV.
Well, it's also a little, so it's kind of weird because I'm trying to rectify this in my brain. If you go to an Android phone, there's a Google Play Movies and TV app, and that already has or is soon switching to a new name, which is Google TV. So I'm actually kind of wondering if this isn't supposed to be a big screen UI of that app, right? Because one of the things
that you broke up to me. What'd you say, Paul?
Okay.
Sorry, the whole thing got jarbled.
The whole thing?
Just...
Yeah, so if you go to, if you have an Android phone and you look in your list of apps, there's something in there called Google Play Movies and TV, right? It's kind of Google's version of, the whatever they call it, the Apple TV app or whatever, right? And the thing that's kind of unique about it, although Apple does it too, is it connects to other services. So from that one app, you could actually watch Hulu or Netflix or whatever. It's kind of it's designed to help you find stuff that's available, and that's kind of what the interface on this new Chromecast is. I actually wonder if what the Chromecast version of Google TV isn't a big screen version of the Google TV app on mobile.
Huh. That's a
because it kind of exists next to Android TV. I mean, I think Android TV goes away over time. I don't understand how it wouldn't, but and I'm looking at the app now, like it's just interesting because it can recommend stuff that's on other services.
Yes. And it's so I'm a big Fire TV user. I know that you were using a Roku for a while, and I finally I was in my living room. I was using Apple TV, and in my essentially in every other room I had a Fire TV. I have a Fire TV in the kids' playroom. I have a Fire TV in my bedroom. I have a Fire TV in my office. So it's become, for me, it's the easiest and most simple interface. I like the interface better than what Roku is providing. I'm not a big fan of the Roku interface. I know a lot of people are.
So I'm not. But this reminds me of the Fire TV interface, right?
It does, yeah, very much so.
It's similar.
So here's my question: what service? And you did a hands-on review, and I didn't publish one, but I used it for quite some time. What is the benefit of this? Of using that? So if I have a Fire TV, why would I go to this service? Because remember, we are now, it's a very saturated market. It's a very dispersed market. And if you look at the stats, you'd be shocked how dispersed these interfaces are. It's not, we're not talking about Roku controlling 60% of the set-top box market anymore. It's very all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, so look, Google has a play in this market because they have the app I just described, and they have their own digital platform and everything. And so the benefit of Chromecast, or if you have a smart TV that has like Miracast built in or whatever, is that you could be on your phone viewing content, YouTube, whatever it is. There's so many compatible apps. And if you want to put it up on a bigger screen, you want to watch like a photo slideshow with some friends or family or something, it's, it makes it easy to do that. And so I think, like you said, you were exactly right. Like where all previous generation Chromecast, the video versions of Chromecast fell apart was there was no UI and there was no remote. And I mean, God, I complain about this whenever the thing came out 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever that was. I mean, 14 years ago, I don't remember, however long ago it was. I was like, this is okay, but what you want is what we have now. So I guess you could look at it like this is Google's version of Apple TV, right? And Apple TV is the closest competitor. It's a little different from Roku because one of the problems with Roku, and probably with the Fire Stick, although I haven't really delved too deeply into this, is that people do have multiple services. We have Netflix and Hulu and HBO Max and whatever we have. And what you want to do is have one interface to all of that stuff, And of course, those services don't want you to have that interface. And so the way they handle it on Roku is you can search from the main UI and it will tell you where it is, the thing you're searching for, like if it's in Netflix or Hulu or whatever. And that's okay, but I mean, ideally what you want is a browsing interface. And I think that's what Apple's trying to do with Apple TV now, right? Integration of services. And it seems to me that that's what they're trying to do here. So for people who are fans of the Google ecosystem or buy content from Google or have always had like a Chromecast around as one way to get stuff up on a TV, this will do all that stuff. It's the same, but it has this additional stuff. And I really think, first of all, the UI is clean and simple. It's nice. Some of the recommendations are off the wall, but whatever. It's day one. And then the UI is. I mean, the remote is nice, and it's such a key part of the experience.
Yeah, the
Plus
remote changes
it's
the
like
whole
$50. It's so
not
cheap.
bad. It's not bad at all.
I mean, how much was the Ultra version before? I think it was 89 or 80 bucks.
Yeah,
it's less
very
expensive.
overpriced.
It's
very overpriced.
Nice.
So, I've been playing around with it. So,
Yep.
Overall, my TV in my living room has what does that run? TV runs the Vizio nonsense, right? It kind of sucks. My bedroom runs the Vizio interface, very sluggish. In my office, however, I am running Android TV because the Hisense runs on Android, the back end. So I was very curious how it's going to be different from Android TV. It is different. It's much better than, because remember the hardware that you're running on these slower, lower mid-range TVs. Yeah, the display is beautiful on this TV. I absolutely love it. However, the software it's coming with, not so great. So I was curious what the comparison would be. I got to tell you, it's a very night and day experience. However,
it's interesting, right? You think they would be similar.
I'm talking about performance-wise, right? Performance-wise, finding the apps, things like that. Here's my gripe with this. Okay. It's slow. It's not fast. It's not super fast. So when you compare it to, let's say, an Apple TV, which, by the way, again, it's not that much of a fair comparison because the Apple TV has a larger frame to have more horsepower in it, but most people don't think that way. I would say that the Fire TV has an edge over it.
Performance-wise, yeah.
Performance-wise. However, it is interesting that you are in the Google App Store. And that could be a game changer in the sense that, there's a ton of apps on my Android phone that I would love on there. Now, through side loading and stuff like that, you could do it. But I think now it's more encouraging for developers to make an Android TV or a Google TV version of these apps.
Yeah. And I wonder if the point of this isn't, Google should have its thing, but third parties will now make Google TV devices that are more like a Roku or Apple, TV or whatever, and maybe have that performance and have onboard storage perhaps, or whatever, different outputs, whatever it is. It feels, there's another thing I kind of want to talk about that's related to this, but it feels early. Like this is, even though, I mean, we just said, 10 years ago, they had something very much like this and now they're doing it again. Like this version of the UI, this version of what they're trying to do, it just feels like a new thing. Like it's, they clearly decided they needed to start over.
It's not, there are a lot of hiccups. So one hiccup that I've had is an audio dropout for whatever reason.
Interesting.
And if I'm watching, this is actually quite ironic, but for whatever reason, when I'm watching YouTube, there's a sync problem. So the audio falls out of sync with the video. So I thought maybe it has something to do with my TV. So I disconnected the sound bar, still did it. I moved it to another TV. And after and it's not instant. I'm saying like if you're watching YouTube for like a good 20 or 30 minutes, that's when you start experiencing this.
Yeah. Okay.
These are things that they'll
look for this. Yeah.
These are things that they'll fix. These are things that they could correct. But this is a very much a first gen product as far as the software goes.
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure.
Where do you see this going though? Do you see a multitude of devices?
Yeah. So let me just edge into the other thing the thing that kind of bugged me about it is this thing was just kind of released by itself, and so if you have it will integrate with the TV that you have, right? Which is nice. It will power it on and off and we'll work with the volume. And if you have a different sound system, like you have a sound bar, and I do as well, you would have seen as you went through the wizard that you can connect it directly to the sound bar. It has all the manufacturers. You can go in and tell it exactly what it is, and then you make sure it works. And so that's nice. But the thing that, because it is that 1.0 thing, like what they're missing and what Amazon offers, for example, is any sense of a home theater solution, right? So they just released these speakers, which are nice, like these Nest audio speakers, right? $100 a piece. They're kind of not quite Sonos One quality, but let's call them somewhere in that ballpark. I mean, it's a good price. I'm confused that Google doesn't have any home theater offerings of their own. Like I don't know why I can't put those in my living room, put two next to the TV and have them be stereo, put two behind me and have them be rears, even put one in the middle and have it be a soundbar or a center's channel or whatever. It's weird to me that they didn't do that. Like this thing cries out for that. Now, I mean, granted, if you have a soundbar, you could have a Vizio soundbar, a Sonos like I do, or whatever it is. Like it will probably just work. It will probably just work. Absolutely. But I what you look for when you kind of buy into an ecosystem is completeness, and, look, being cross compatible with stuff that already exists is smart. I'm not going to dump on that. But, I look sometimes at you're using a Fire TV stick. I mean, you could get two of those studio speakers. Amazon sells a soundbar. It all works together. It's designed to work together. I mean, there's something appealing about that. Roku offers the same thing. They have 3.1 sound. I think they have 3 and 5.1 sound systems now in different. I think they have 2 different sound bars too. But you look for that family of stuff that works together. Not because you're all going to spend $1,000 on day one or whatever, but you want things to work and work together. And I'm just surprised. That it just makes it feel less well thought out. And maybe there'll be more coming. Maybe that will happen, but. I don't know. Google moves slowly on this stuff. Remember with the first generation Google Homes, they didn't support stereo pairing for like 4 or 5 years. And it was like, guys, what are you doing? Like people will buy 2 of these and put them in a kitchen or a living room or something, and stereo is nice. I mean, and I it's like here's a dongle. It's like okay. And by the way, why does it come in colors? It goes behind the TV.
It goes behind the TV. Why does it come in?
Why would there be colors? It should be black.
That's the best question.
It doesn't even make any sense.
What color blends with everything?
They spent like weeks in a meeting. Like, what are we going to call the blue? Some guy's like, I think we should call it sky blue. No. How about dusty sky blue? Or like, they spent time on this. Like, I don't know. I just sometimes I feel they're a strange company.
It is. That's actually a very strange. So, do you think this is going to be another start and stop for Google, because they have a terrible track record with starting something awesome and then just dropping the development and then moving on to something else? I mean, we see that a great example is their messaging services and how for many years they couldn't commit to a messaging service like how Apple had done. And I've always said this. I go, I do not understand why there is not one unified messaging service that works.
Well, so I mean, they're kind of getting there, though, right? Like that's
they
happening
are. I know, but it's how many years? 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. I mean, so well. By the way, we just stepped through the progression of Google TV to Android TV back to Google TV. I mean, they've been all over the map. There was a Nexus Q thing that was going to happen. There was a Nexus TV device that was going to happen. There was they've gone in all these different kind of directions. They started with they had a Chromecast audio product, which was wonderful. And they killed it, So you have to buy smart speakers, but they don't. I mean, until last week, they didn't even have a decent speaker, for a reasonable price. They're all over the place. So I feel like they're in media, meaning music, videos, podcasts, whatever. I feel like they're in it for the long haul. Like I'm not worried about them pulling out like Microsoft did. Like I think they're going to be around for a while. But like for example, one thing, I would look for with software like this is compatibility with all the services I use, right? And the list of apps you get when you first sign in looks pretty good, But the 2 things I sort of noticed that were bad were, one of the things I use all the time is Apple TV, and it's not available on Android TV or Google TV, but maybe someday. And the other was that I specifically went through the list and unchecked some things that I didn't have that were pre-selected, like HBO Max, I think it was called, or whatever they were. It doesn't matter. There was a list of them. And anyway, I went through all the setup stuff. It takes half an hour. It has to install updates and blah, blah, blah. And you finally bring the thing up and those freaking apps are there. And it's recommending me stuff on HBO, even though I don't subscribe to HBO. And it's like, guys, this system doesn't work unless you know what I have, you know? But on the flip side, as you would have experienced, one of the really nice things about it is if you are using the Google Smart Lock system, which works across Android and the Chrome web browser on Windows, or now on Google TV, it knows your password to Netflix and Hulu and whatever else. And you don't have to sign in. You run the app and it's like, boop.
Done.
Just comes, and it tells you at the bottom, we signed in with Smart Lock because you signed into the thing with your Google account. Like, I think that's awesome.
Apple TV's on the Xbox, right? Or it's going to be? It's being developed?
It's going to be, yeah. Going to be.
Yeah.
It's basically everywhere. I suspect it will show up on Google TV, right?
Yeah.
And on Android too. I don't know why it wouldn't, but today it's not.
So something else from the Google side, which since we're talking about them, I want to talk about the Pixel 5. We did not talk about this. I was totally overwhelmed last week. So they're back to not being a flagship device. Is this the direction? I'm very curious about this. I'm actually a little baffled.
Everyone is
by the because they were really, one of the things is the lack of a camera upgrade more than anything else.
Well, there is a camera. Well,
small camera upgrade.
I don't know how to explain, dude. Listen, I wrote this article last week about my indecision on like fitness trackers or smartwatches. Right. The truth is, I suffer from this in a lot of different areas with things I want to buy. I just talked about the importance of ecosystems and how you make these decisions and everything. It's hard. Like, I struggle with the smartphone thing. I struggle with the smart speaker stuff around the house, like whole house audio, stuff like that. The smartwatch thing I mentioned. There's other stuff, but like this thing is tough because every year since 2015 or 14, maybe, I've bought whatever the Google Pixel or Nexus back in the day flagship was. I've been buying these things forever. I love them for their cameras. I love them for their clean, Google or Android image. There's a lot to like about these things. But there's always problems, Every year you can mention any generation. I can tell you everything that was wrong with all of them. And unfortunately, the Pixel 4 XL that I bought last year is one of the blandest, most uninteresting Pixel phones that's ever existed. And I've been dying to replace it. And as you just alluded to, there's like this weird mess of not flagship phones that don't map to anything. And there aren't XL versions, not exactly. And I literally wrote this article where I was like, I'm not buying any of these things. But the thing is, like, I don't know, I might actually still buy one of them. And it's complicated because for some reason, they're selling a new version of a second version of the 4A, which is not called an XL, but it is a little bigger. It's really weird. And then they're selling a Pixel 5. And they have the same processor. They have slightly different amounts of RAM. They have the same storage, I think. Same camera system, right? Which is new to this year, meaning the main camera is the same lens they've had since the Pixel 2, but instead of the telephoto lens they had last year in the 4XL, which is terrible, they have an ultra wide lens, which is what they should have had all along. So that's good. And I don't know how, you don't have enough time for me to explain how messed up this is, but let me give you just one little example of how stupid Google is about this stuff. If you went to store.google.com today and you wanted to buy one, you could buy one if it was a Pixel 5. The Pixel 4a 5G, as they're calling it, the bigger 4a, there's a waiting list. You can get on a waiting list. You can't even pre-order it. Why? Why? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't understand anything that they do. And you can do a comparison. You can put the three of them side by side. You have a 4A with 5G, 5. And they're very similar. The 4A with 5G and the 5 both have slightly improved processors off the original 4A. I don't remember what the 4A is for RAM, but the 4A 5G is 6 gig. The 5 is 8 gig. I think they both have 128. The two newer ones have the Snapdragon 765 processor. The original 4A had a 735. The 4A 5G and the 5 have the same camera. The 4A without 5G just has the single lens.
Interesting. So
4A and 4A with 5G are made of polycarbonate, which I love. The 5 is made of metal for some reason. And there's a hole in the back, which you can't see, so that the wireless charging thing can get through the hole and you can wirelessly charge it. Okay. Also, the 5 is kind of expensive for what it is. $700 to start. The 4A with 5G, I think, starts at $500. It's actually a much better deal. It's basically the same thing inside. It doesn't have wireless charging and some other stuff. I don't think it has an IP rating. It has a headphone jack, but the 5 doesn't. It's like this stupid. It's like you put 100 features in a basket and you threw the thing up in the air and you just cherry picked a few and said this is a 5 and this is a 4A, and they don't make any sense at all.
Okay, so here's a question for you: the pricing.
Yeah.
The pricing $699, right? Starting.
Yep. For a 5.
For a 5.
And by the way, it's a smaller screen. You can't even get an XL in this.
Yeah, why?
That means dude, I don't know. And then there's no real XL, but for some reason, I believe the way the sizes go is the 4A is the smallest, the 5 is a little bit bigger, and then the 4A with 5G is a little bit bigger still. Okay, it's almost an XL.
If I'm looking for a budget phone though, right? Let's say I'm looking for a not an expensive Android phone. I'm just looking for something that I could not spend $1,400 on. Right. I would go with a 4A. I don't even need 5G. I wouldn't even go for a 4A 5G.
The 5G aspect of the 4A 5G does not interest me in the slightest. I can't use it either, but I would still get it because it has the better camera. It's got 2 lenses with an ultra wide lens. It has a bigger screen. I think I want to say it's 6 inches to 6.2 inches, something like that. It could be even bigger of a difference. I don't know, but it's probably half an inch taller if you look at the photos than the little guy. That's important to me. I'm a big person. I have big hands. I have bad eyesight. I mean, a small screen is kind of tough for me. Neither one of them does wireless charging. That doesn't bother me, but that could be an issue for some people. I don't believe either one of them has an IP rating. That doesn't bother me. Both of them have a headphone jack. I don't care. I don't use that anymore. That could be important to some people. What is the 4A must start at what? 400? Like, what is it? Oh no, it's 350, right? So yeah, the little one is 350. It's a great price. It's a great little phone. It really is. Especially if you want a small display. And I think the 4A with 5G starts at 500. So for $150, you get 5G if you need it. You get a bigger screen and you get a second camera lens. That's totally worth it to me. The problem is, when you get into that 5 to 700 range, there are other phones, including the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE Fan Edition.
Yes, and I got to tell you, that looks very impressive.
Yeah, and based on my experience with the Note 20 Ultra, which I do have to give back, which I'm dreading. They just wrote me today, hey, just a little reminder, you got to send it back. It's like, eh. So anyway, I love this phone, but I can't buy one. It's like $1,400. The camera experience on this is fantastic. I know they're not exactly the same lenses, but all the things I've seen about it looks like that is a nice triple lens camera system. Plastic body, which is absolutely fine with. I don't want glass all over my phones. It's an option. I mean, it's probably a really good option, and it's Samsung. So that's the other thing. I've got this Pixel 4 XL I want to trade in. This is off the top of my head, but I want to say that Samsung will give me, I want to say it was 350 or maybe even $400, somewhere in the 350 to 400 range on trade. And Google will only give me, I think it was $292 or something like that. It was actually less on trade. And I was like,
interesting. Okay, so I'm on the Samsung website. This is actually, I was not planning on doing this today, but I think this is fun to do. So
no, it's a great phone.
The Galaxy S20 FE 5G, okay?
Right.
So you could get it for, if you trade in a phone with a cracked screen, it's $349. No trade in, $699.99. So it's a $700 phone.
So you get it, yeah. So compare that to the 5, right? It's a much bigger display, a much better display. I guess they're probably both 1080p plus displays. I think they both have fast refresh rates. Which, by the way, is the other thing you get with the 5.
So if I traded in my S9, I get
Yep.
$300 off the price.
Yeah. I mean, so now you're talking about a $400 phone.
$400 phone, and
That's
it's
incredible, right?
yeah.
No, I know it makes it's a hard. I look I go to. I think the problem is if Google had made the 4A 5G available for like even for pre-order, I probably just would have done it. But they haven't. And it's
Yeah.
killing me. But
Yeah.
then you go to the Samsung site and you're like, I could have this thing probably in 2 days or something, and it's like,
And guess what? You know how cheap that phone is going to be in probably around Christmas time?
I know,
That
I
FE?
know. Black
They're going to
Friday,
be
probably you
nothing.
get it in a box of cereal.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like instead of a decoder ring, you're getting a Samsung
yeah.
S20 FE. I actually, do
hmm
you know how good the camera is on that? Because I'm curious how
Yeah,
that
it's
plays
it's
out.
supposed to be very good. So, and like I said, look, photography is kind of subjective. I mean, obviously there are really good photos. Anyone would agree are good, but there's a certain degree of AI that's involved in computation photography and HDR, kind of color saturation, that kind of thing. I feel like Samsung this year has nailed that. I think it's fantastic. I think it's fair to say that the Pixel would probably take technically better pictures in that they're truer to life, but I also find them to be a little on the bland side at this point.
Yeah, very.
But you should look at reviews. I've done that I don't typically do that myself ahead of time, but because I wasn't sure if I was ever going to get this phone, I thought I'd go check it out. And honestly, I've been very pleasantly surprised by the quality. What that people have said is the quality of the camera.
Yeah, I'm curious how it does compared to my
Plus
S9
fun
because
colors,
I want to
fun
get rid of
colors.
this S9. So I've had
Yeah,
this thing since it came out.
this is a great choice.
Yeah, but I'm tired of paying. So right now, I'm still paying for this stupid phone, and I
Yeah.
don't use it anymore because my work phone became my regular phone because everybody uses that number, and I kind of like that number because it's the last digits I really like. It's
hmm
bizarre. Most people don't care. So
So I'm looking at this again too. So I could get this thing for $350.
it's not bad, man. Not bad.
Get rid of my old Pixel and just call it a year.
Yeah. What
I
else did
think
they
about it
announce at that event? There was a
at
new
the Google
updated
event.
yeah.
I think that was everything, wasn't it?
There was an updated mesh network, right?
No, no. Well, they don't have a
It
new
was
mesh network. They've
it was
just
just
added some
software update.
features to it. Yeah, they didn't do any. Also, the old one, which is the one I have, is at a new low price, and so those
Mm.
each of the mesh units or nodes or whatever are $100 now. So the version I would use in this house, which works in houses up to 4,500 feet, like a 3 node network for $300, that's great. It's not Wi-Fi 6, right? It's whatever the predecessor, Wi-Fi 5 or whatever, but
Whatever it is, yeah.
it's great. Like it's really really good.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. They did a weird maybe the XL when they announce it, it'll be the flagship. Maybe that's what
I
they're
don't
doing.
I don't think this is what they're doing. I I don't know. I mean, I feel like look, here's what I do know. When you go from Pixel 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 over those 3 or 4 years or whatever that is, their sales went down every year. And so the
Mm.
one success that they've seen since they moved to the Pixel brand was when they did the 3A and 3A and 3A XL, which is what I got about a year and a half ago. So when you flash forward to this year, obviously they're going to do another A. That seems to be working for them. But now obviously what they're thinking is, well, maybe we do move the whole line down market and just try to focus on the things that matter most to people. They can't afford to put a 865 chip or whatever it's now. So they're going to go to a mid-market chipset because it's
Yeah.
cheaper. So, they have 3 phones. It's $350 to $700. I mean, that's the low to the mid part of the market. It's a good price point. I I wish there were. All I want is an XL
I know.
upgrade.
Yeah.
50 to $100. The only difference would be the screen. That's all I want. And they're not doing it. So I don't know. The 4A 5G is the closest thing to what I'm looking for. Assuming I like the color black. Maybe that one comes in white. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't get a white one anyway. I don't know.
So next week, by the way, guys, I want to remind everybody, if you enjoy the show, you enjoy what we do here, support us by going to patreon.com/whatthetech. That's patreon.com/whatthetech. You can fund us there as little as $1 per episode. And we do a bonus show following the show. Sometimes it's very long. Sometimes it's less. By the way, I found out the name of the man that lived across the street.
Okay. Was it Himmler?
Himmler, yeah. Jack Cave.
Okay.
Now, I have not found anything about him. I do not remember that being his name.
Okay.
The only reason why my neighbor believes that's him is because his father used to say, "Crazy Jackie is yelling again," because apparently he yelled a lot.
Oh, funny.
Wacky Jackie's screaming again. That's what he said. So I don't know if this is the exact guy. I got a new lead. This is
He
the
was
new
exposed
show
to
we're doing
nuclear
here.
radiation.
I think that's what it was. The whole neighborhood.
You know,
It
now he's
explains
like
a lot.
nuts.
It explains a lot. We always joke about how the ether's pumped up in my house a little bit because we all get a little silly sometimes. I don't think it's that. I think it's the offset of whatever happened here in the 40s. So we'll talk about that today. But if you enjoy the show, you could go to patreon.com/whatthetech, support the show. Also, a lot of the information we talk about is from therot.com. Head on over to therot.com. Subscribe to their premium membership, the Raw Premium. Great content. You get access to all this extra stuff, extra forum access. You do in-depth articles that I absolutely love. So head on over to therot.com and subscribe there. Let's talk about the Apple event, Paul. There's another one. I don't know if you know this or not. There's another Apple event.
Yeah.
And this one is called High Speed. So I guess we're talking about 5G here, right?
Right.
What do we expect here? We're getting the iPhone 12.
Well, yeah, but 12 it's like 5 phones now, right?
It's like 18 phones. Yes. Let's
right.
exaggerate
So
it appropriately. It's like 28 phones. So we're talking about a 5.4 inch iPhone 12, a 6.1 inch iPhone 12 Max, a 6.1 inch iPhone 12 Pro, a 6.7 inch iPhone 12 Pro Max, 6.7 inch. You're talking about a 7-inch tablet.
I might literally, I'm going to get one, right? I might actually, for the first time since they've had Plus or Max models, I think the first one was the 7. I might get the smaller one. Not the smallest one, but like the normal size Pro. I feel like I've really enjoyed as phone screens have gotten bigger. I think they have gotten to the point where now where I'm like, yeah, enough of this. Like enough. It's too much. You know, I think like a folding display would be way more interesting to me than one 6.7 inch display. It's too like the Note Plus Ultra is awesome, but because it's a little curved on the edges, it's too big. It's too wide.
What's this one? I have the Max. How big is the Max?
The 11 Max? That's a good question.
6.1?
It's pretty damn close to 6.7.
No.
The other thing is, by the way, that phone feels like a brick.
It does. It's very heavy.
It is like a slab of lead. I can't. Every time I pick up my iPhone, I'm like, holy crap! Like I'm kind of hoping the new ones are a little more reasonable. So the diagonal is 6.5.
The diagonal is 6.5.
Yeah, so it's going to 6.7. The diagonal today on the 11 Pro, not the Max, the normal one, is 5.8. If that thing hit like 6, I would just do that. I can't 6.7, like enough.
No, hold on. The width is 3 inches. Yeah, the height is 6.2 inches.
Yeah, but when you talk about display
yeah.
sight, you're doing the diagonal. So 6.7 is the diagonal.
Yeah, 6.5.
Today it's 6.5.
Yeah, this is a big phone, and going another 2 inches, 0.2 inches. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's big. It's bigger than you think.
It's going to be bigger than I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are that's a lot of phones that are coming out, and I'm curious if they're going to kind of screw you with the 6.7 and the 6.1 with a better camera on the 6.7 because they tend to do that.
I don't think so. They didn't do that with the 11, right?
I hope not.
So yeah, we'll see. I don't think so. I think they've stopped doing that because now they have they're gonna have 5 of these things, right? So I don't know if we mentioned it, but there's also like the small one, like the 5.4 inch, like SE. Are they gonna call it SE? No. What are they gonna call it? Mini? Maybe like iPhone Mini.
I think they may call it a Mini.
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
You
I'm
know who
not
has
going
it?
near
John
that thing.
Prosser had all the names. He posted it a couple days ago. John has
Okay.
been on fire with these Apple leaks.
Yeah.
Really, if you guys are into this as much as we are, follow John Prosser, John_Prosser on Twitter. He's really become one of those an insider when it comes to this. But what do we know what else that they're going to announce? I know that they're going to announce new headphones and those the studio version of the headphones. That's another one
Yep.
that they were going to announce. Which
And then there's going to be an AirPod. No, sorry, a HomePod Mini.
a HomePod Mini.
And
Do you know
also the
anybody with a
Apple
HomePod?
tags. No, I don't think there's a dumber smart home product than HomePod. And the reason is not because I'm sure it sounds awesome. And I'm sure if you got two of these things, it'd sound even better still. But it's just so Apple centric. Like, they're just, these guys really need to work on that stuff. I don't understand. Well, I guess I sort of understand, but their strategy is bizarre. So, no, I think even for Apple guys, I think it was a little expensive for what it was. And maybe if you could get a pair of these and get some stereo sound going, a lot of people have smaller rooms or apartments or whatever. I'm sure they'll be fine. I mean, sound quality, I'm sure is excellent, but I would never buy a product like that.
Yeah. So some of the other rumors that are going around is that we may get a preview of their Apple chipset based MacBook.
Yeah.
That's one.
Or it's more likely to me. They could, by the way, but I mean, I would assume that's going to be like a separate November event.
Oh, another one?
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's a big deal, you know.
It is a big deal. So the latest that I was reading is that they are looking at releasing a Pro model also along with the regular MacBook. So they would potentially have a MacBook Pro that's running this chipset. And I'm very curious about that.
Can't wait to see it.
I got to tell you, out of all the latest announcements in technology, I am really fascinated by this because I'm just trying. Listen, I'm a heavy user, right? Like my MacBook Pro at work, I'm using that. I mean, to its full capacity. I'm rendering very high-res videos. I'm editing photos. I use it in the exact environment it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. I just cannot imagine that I will even come close to the performance of an 8-core chipset and justify this, and justifiably say, you know what? I know Intel, they got a good track record and I've been using them for years, but this new Apple thing, let's give that a shot.
But look, it's new. Yeah, I know. The positive press that this stuff has generated is astonishing, and I'm part of the problem. I mean, for some reason, despite the fact that I've watched Microsoft and Qualcomm struggle and fail to make Windows 10 on ARM anything interesting at all, for some reason, I believe Apple's capable of doing this, and I just want to know. Like, I'm fascinated by it. I'm dying for these things to come out, and realistically speaking, it's reasonable to expect there's going to be all kinds of performance problems, compatibility issues, and the story's going to be like, guys, just, it's new. Don't worry. We're going to fix these things over time.
Yeah.
But there's a part of me that thinks they're just going to nail it. And I can't even explain it. But
Paul, I would agree with you, except for the fact that I have 2 generations of these new MacBook Pros.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you that this Apple magic, and people that are listening, I'm doing hand quotes here, is gone. These are pieces of crap.
That's what it was.
And I mean every word of that. They are not well-built machines.
Right.
They're not well-built machines. They're not the same, Apple MacBooks that were you could barely. These are not portable computers. You know when they work great? When you have it out on desk and it's plugged in and you don't do anything other than where it's fixed. That's the only time. I got to say, my wife's MacBook Pro, her 13-inch MacBook Pro, the 4th time in repair. 4th time. Doesn't work. Keyboard doesn't work. My 16-inch, my 15-inch, 8 times it went to repair, to the point that they just handed me a new one. My 16-inch, now that I have at work, that I got right when the pandemic happened, I can, at times it just doesn't charge. It tells me that it's not compatible with the charge. And I've used 4 different plugs. It's a problem. I can't connect it to an external display without it freaking out and constantly flipping back and forth. These are not These are issues.
Yeah,
These are
no,
major
sure.
issues.
I mean, I only have a MacBook Air and like the new version, and it's it's like a Y series processor, a lot of fan noise. And to me, like that's the bar that they have to reach. I'm not with the Pro product, but with the normal MacBook, running
Yeah.
Apple Silicon. It's I feel like they're going to be able to do it, and there won't be any fan noise, hopefully.
Is
But the
that going to be
Pro
the
one, yeah,
selling point?
I don't know how. I just don't. Yeah, I'm curious.
I mean,
Multi-chip, like how do you do it? Like how do
yeah,
you
I'm
make that
thinking.
work? I don't know.
That's what I'm thinking. I think they're going to slap like 32 cores into this thing.
Yeah, it's good. Right. I mean, there's got to be something going on that we haven't heard about.
It's a 98 core chipset.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Still
Something.
fan and everything.
We'll see. I mean, it. Well, but if it does, they've sort of blown away the point of it. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I'm curious. I'm very curious what happens there.
Yeah.
Also, there were some Surface updates, correct?
Yeah. So they didn't really have an event per se, but they announced a minor update. So they didn't actually upgrade the Surface Pro X, which is the Windows 10 on ARM-based Surface. But what they did was add one new model that has a new chipset inside that's based on the new Qualcomm chipset. So the one that came out last year had, well, actually, Qualcomm last year came out with something called an 8CX, Snapdragon 8CX chipset. Microsoft came out with their own version of it, which I think was called SQ1. This year, Qualcomm came out with the Snapdragon 8CX Gen 2, which is a very minor upgrade. And Microsoft came out with something called the SQ2, which is a very minor upgrade. And if you pay extra, you can get that version in the existing form factor. They didn't change the product at all. So that's not that big of a deal. Actually, there's a new platinum color as well. I think you have to buy the expensive one to get it, but so there's a new color if you like that kind of stuff. The bigger news, and I actually think this is pretty big news in the scope of PCs, is they came out with it was something called the Surface Laptop Go, which starts at $549. It really starts at $700 for like a reasonable model, but $549, whatever. And it's a 12.5-inch version of Surface Laptop. It has a full-size keyboard, a nice trackpad. By the way, the display has curved corners, like it's a rounded rectangle, which is kind of interesting. I wonder if they're going in this new direction. There is a fingerprint reader in the keyboard in addition to a facial recognition system, which is really cool. This is my preferred, way of doing it, is to offer both. So that's nice. And otherwise, it's basic. And I think it's a combination of plastic and metal. I think it's probably like the top lid is metal and the bottom is plastic, something like that, to save some money. But it looks like a beautiful little machine. And like, unlike Surface Go, like this thing seems to make sense. And for a reasonable amount of money, you can get a pretty decent little computer. And it seems like something that would be good for education, for kids as a second computer inside of a house, or for people who travel a lot, whenever that happens again, and want something really small and light, but they still need to get real work done. There you go. So this is a good one. I mean, I have so many reservations about Surface Go, but this one makes sense. It seems like the right product for the right time.
Here's a little thing, by the way. AMD unveiled their 5000 series processors. Yep. The Zen 3 Ryzen 5000. It starts at $299. This thing,
yeah,
it's.
I mean, you could spend $799 if you 16 core, crazy version.
16 core, 32 threads, up to 4.9 with boost, 4.9 gigahertz, and it runs at 3.4.
Same socket. Like if you have an AMD now, you could just pop it out, put in a new chip, could do a BIOS update. But yeah, AMD's been on a real roll the last 12 months, And
I'm still afraid to make that jump right now.
I'm telling you, I've reviewed
2 weeks.
So these are desktop chips, but if you look at the laptop versions, the 3000 series was garbage. And so the Surface Laptop 3 shipped with that chip. It's terrible. But the 4000 series is amazing. And I've reviewed at least three AMD 4000 based laptops. Fantastic. And so I'm sure, the 5000, I'm sure it's amazing. And by the way, everyone was kind of wondering, like, hey, why did Intel kind of pre-announce that they were coming out with a new 11th gen chipset for gaming PCs sometime in the spring? It was because AMD was going to release this. AMD's releasing it next month. Like they're coming out,
Yeah.
in time for the holidays.
I got to tell you, first of all, Intel's had a terrible time. I think for that 10th gen chipsets, they really suffered because of the pandemic and the assembly, the manufacturing of these chipsets being delayed. You still have difficulty finding them. In Nvidia, for example, is suffering the same exact thing with their new 3000 series. The 30, the 30,
Yep.
the 3, whatever they
The
call them, 30
RTX,
series.
whatever.
RTX 3080, RTX 3070. You can't get one really, and the pricing is astronomically inflated at this point. I'm debating now because I got to build a new production machine. It's time. It's been like 5 years. This thing is it's fine, but we want to start doing 4K and start incorporating more production stuff. So we need to upgrade, and I'm really in a position of I don't know what to do. Do I jump and go back to AMD, or do I stick to Intel? I don't know what to do right now.
If you're going to do it before the end of the calendar year, I would look at these 5000 series chips.
I have to do it within 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
I got to make the decision.
Well, they won't be out then.
Yeah.
So, they won't be out then.
So we'll figure it out. All right, guys. I think it's time to wrap it up. This was a lot of fun. It was quick. Hey, guys, again, thanks to Glasswire. We're going to have a link in the show notes on how to win a brand new Surface Duo, courtesy of Glasswire for our audience. It's going to be awesome. Glasswire is going to be sponsoring us throughout the next couple of months here. So we're very happy to partner with them and kick things off like this already. I believe this has like 300 retweets, this post. So I'm very happy to see that. One of you guys is going to be lucky enough to get one. October 20th, Glasswire is announcing, and obviously we're going to announce it here on the show and, of course, on our social media pages on who the winner is, which is going to be awesome. Guys, that's it for this week. We'll see you all later. Take care.